Hi guys, I'm Karis K. Wilson. Welcome back to my channel. If you're an ambitious undergraduate student, graduate student, or young professional, then you are in the right place. In today's video, I'll talk about how to choose a major in graduate school. So tip number one, and the first thing that you should consider when choosing a major for graduate school is narrowing or niching down what discipline or area of work that you're interested in doing. And so this should be a more simplified process than maybe what you've seen in some of my undergraduate videos, or in the process that you might have gone through when you were trying to decide kind of what to do for your undergraduate degree. You should have more of an idea of kind of what direction you're going. If you don't, this is a red flag, and so you might want to consider if going to graduate school at this point in time that you're considering is the best decision for you. If you're not necessarily deciding to go right now, but you're kind of gearing up, this is a great video for you to kind of start thinking about and getting clear about what exactly you're wanting to do and how to narrow down and determine what program or area you're wanting to go into. So tip number two is know your goals and do your research. So I can't say this enough. If you don't know your goals, then it can be very difficult to choose a major. And if you don't do your research, then it can be hard to approach the process with intentionality and choosing a major with the care that it deserves. And so you want to be very clear about, one, what your career goals are, and two, what the potential programs that you're considering offers. So you really do want to make sure that you take this particular tip into consideration when trying to choose a major once you decide on going into a graduate program. And so this is also important to consider because you don't want to waste your time. Oh, so much time. It takes so much time to submit a graduate application. I'm sure you can see the pain that I just had just for thinking about or reflecting on the process to apply for my master's program and PhD program. But yeah, you could waste time and money submitting a weak application, and that's no good for anyone. The program has a view of you that is not really indicative of who you are or your ability or your strengths or your talents, and what you can offer to this program and this community. And also, that's time. Time is the one thing they always say that people wish they had more of. Out of everything else, there's money, there's all these things, but time. And so, you want to value your time, value your money, and don't waste time doing an application that is not going to be the best representation of yourself and competitive. And also don't waste money applying for a program on an application fee, or going to take the GRE or GMAT test or any other qualifying exam that gets you that you will need to submit your application. So that's the second thing that you want to think about when trying to choose a major for graduate school. So the third thing that you want to consider is what everyone loves to talk about, which is money, even though you guys, I'm sure, know how I feel about that a little bit at this point. Securing funding is important. So that's why that is tip number 3, is securing funding. At this point in the game, and at this stage when you're applying to graduate school, it is expensive. It is much more expensive than graduate programs, it's much more expensive than undergraduate programs, especially if you're taking into account and considering the differences in programs, and it depends on the program that you're applying to, but they're all more expensive typically than going to your undergraduate program that you were previously in. And so someone once told me that you never want to pay for graduate school, and I asked questions. So I'd heard all these different opinions and views about loans and money and everything that goes with undergrad, and I was very clear on that. At least that's kind of how I felt. But I didn't necessarily understand when I was navigating my undergraduate process, and I might potentially go to grad school, in that time, what the graduate process looked like. And so you have to have someone, or be actively seeking out information. In academia especially, or sometimes you won't know, or you will not know what resources and what to do and what not to do. So someone shared with me, just never pay for graduate school, and I'm like, well, why not? People pay for undergrad all the time out of their own kind of money in pocket. Why is it necessary to try to secure funding for graduate school? And a lot of people said because it's just plain and simple, they have the money. You can take that for what it's worth and what that means, but what was explained to me, and kind of how I see it now, having gone through the process myself, is that typically programs in academic institutions, no, graduate school is expensive. There's funding and money that comes from a variety of places. So whether it's fellowships, whether it's from government grants, whether it's from research, it's just a much different experience and process. And to secure funding, in certain ways, it's kind of easier than it is for undergrad because you have such a large body and population of students flowing into the university, going into the university. And so it's kind of more competitive in that way. But typically when a program brings you in, sometimes depending on the discipline, it's a smaller cohort or smaller number of students coming in. And even if it's not, there's typically more access to funding, whether it's in the program or outside of the program. And so if you haven't checked out my podcast episode on how I became the most highly funded student coming into my cohort, coming in my first year of my doctoral program, check out that video. It's really cool. It's a really neat way in which I kind of navigate that process and try to be thoughtful in that process. And so I think it will hopefully help someone. And I can also do a full YouTube video on that. If you guys want to know my thoughts on funding and how to secure it, I have worked quite a bit in this area as well. And so I can share kind of all that experience. But it is important that you know that you should try to avoid as much as you can paying out of pocket for graduate school, because it is extremely expensive and would be very difficult, I think, for most to pay back. And so you really want to think about trying to get into a program that provides that funding or that pays for you in some way, or just, again, if you're getting funding from another source, then that's awesome too. And please share that in the comment section below if you have gotten funding to programs or you have ideas or questions about it that you want to share with the community here. Okay, so with that being said, the video next week will be the 5 mistakes that people make when choosing a graduate program. And then the video in the week following will be about how to choose a school graduate edition. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next week. Bye, guys. Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Karis K Wilson YouTube channel. If you're interested in receiving more content and information about how to navigate your undergraduate experience, your graduate experience, or your experience as a young professional, then go ahead and hit the subscription button and the notification bell. If you're also interested in receiving collegiate news updates or breaking news, then also go ahead and hit the subscription button and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video. Bye guys.